Welcome to part 2 of the BSC 135th scale Gundam Unicorn Bust. Today we're going to cover the build, LEDs, and some tips and tricks to help your frustrations when you build this kit. Stay tuned. Here is the Gundam bust all snapped up. This took about 11 hours to put together, and that's only with clipping the parts off the frame and cleaning them up a little bit with just side cutters and a hobby knife. There's no sanding, there's no extra cleanup, and it was about 11 hours. LEDs and just a few little parts here and there soaked up several hours. If you're not interested in LEDs, you can knock several hours off of that build. I'm gonna plug in some AAA batteries and get the lights on, let you see that, and we will continue on. Okay, so put batteries in it, the LEDs are on. You're supposed to check each circuit at each step of the build. I didn't do that, and you'll notice the one LED in the torso isn't on. The kit does come with a couple extra LEDs, plus there's the 8 for the shoulders that I didn't use, so I'll certainly get that figured out. But the eyes look nice, the camera looks nice. Scoot it back a little bit. You can see there's a transparent sticker that goes over this one, and like I said, the bulb is just barely sticking in there. There's LEDs in the base, front and back. The back ones are pretty dim. The front ones are nice and bright. Spin it around. The bulbs actually aren't in the thrusters, but they do light up. Like I said, I didn't buy the kit for the LEDs, but it's a nice add-on. I'm not too upset with the bad LED quality, but the shoulders were a total pain. And I'll go over some tips when you build yours when I go through the instruction manual cover to cover. That'll make your life a lot easier when you're putting the LEDs and the wiring in through the kit. Okay, going through the instruction manual, it's fairly thorough. It does have English in it, so that's a bonus, and it is fairly full color. But here you'll see it doesn't mention that there's a metal piece for this. Oh, also there are gear pieces here that go inside on both sides. The knurled pieces go to the inside, not the outside. It's kind of counterintuitive to what you think it would be to see the most detailed parts, but all this gets covered up anyway. Took me a minute to figure that out. These pieces are super crazy tight. No, I'm sorry. These going onto the hubs are super tight. Those will be a real pain to get off. If you're going to paint the kit, paint it as you go. Don't try and snap fit it, I guess, ahead of time, or else just be aware it's going to be kind of a pain. With the pilot seat and the ring, I guess, glue those in when you install it into the back half of the ball, because these wires run around the peg and behind the seat, and every time you adjust those cables going up in to the circuit board that sits on top of them, it's going to pop that pilot seat out, and eventually you're not going to be able to get the pilot seat back in as you put more and more frame in the front of it. So do yourself a favor, glue that connector right here into that plug in the back of the ball, and leave it be. Save yourself a ton of headache there. Going on, all this was pretty straightforward. Like I said, all these LEDs work great. Just follow the instructions, make sure you cut the LEDs the right length. There's a rhyme and reason for all of that. That's the one thing, just trust the instruction manual on. Going on through, let's see, all this is your wiring for the pack. Those are where it's eventually going to go. The shoulders, nothing too crazy through there. I did miss one thing, I think. Yes. Here, this piece is not P6, it is P9. Even though it says that with a line under it, P6 is actually a hinge, just one of those little things to pay attention to. There's one or two little typos in the manual. That's one, the other ones are towards the end. I'll point it out when we get to it, and hopefully won't forget and have to flip back. But the torso was pretty straightforward. These pieces you got to wiggle in. They're just kind of a friction fit, and they are kind of loose. But once they're on, they do stay on. These are the little hinge pieces that I'm going to drill through and pin so that they actually stay on, because they do tend to flop out a little bit. And there's actually very little subframe. I mean, the only metallic subframe you have is just this little fake part in the arm, the collar a little bit. Don't do like I did and forget to put in this back section here. When it has numbered arrows, you kind of do them in order. So that piece goes on first. Then you do the 2s, the 3s, and then 4, and then 4. Here it tells you M1. It doesn't tell you have, the options for clear pieces there, clear pieces there. In the head, in the instruction manual, anytime they have pigtails on their wire connectors, like here, they're much larger than they are in the pictures. When you're doing the head, let's see if I can zoom in just a little. This pigtail connector that's here, make sure it's higher. You want to have it above the eye connector where the 2 LEDs plug in for the eyes. That cord is plenty long enough, and if you put it down here where it shows it in the picture, this lead's not going to be long enough for the camera in the arch over the head. So make sure that pigtail connector is above it, and then it goes down into the eye sockets. Let's see, this little piece here, it just sits on there, and it is quite loose. Going on, the backpack uses most of the large pieces. When you're wiring up these 4 LEDs, the backpack comes apart into 2 halves, like it shows here. You can still take it apart at this point real easy. Do the ones in the tops first, and then do the bottoms. Otherwise, the bottoms will just keep popping out. Also, one neat trick I found is don't do the stair step bend on the LEDs from this connector to where the hole is. If you leave it straight, it'll fit. You just have to cut them a little shorter. All you want to do is have the bulb set up between these 2 thick pieces of the psycho frame to transmit light to that thruster hub, because all these lights are just giving light to the thrusters, and that's a lot easier than trying to do the stair step bend on those little LED leads. Now these you do have to bend the 90 degree. I found that the instructions say to leave them way too long, but you'll figure it out. Also, put a little bit of glue in this channel here when you get it done. Otherwise, when you come over here and you're putting the whole assembly together, they're going to pop out, and you're going to have to do it 2 or 3 times because they won't stay put. Also, be careful when you pull or work the power panel up through this top piece here. As you pull it in, it's ramped, so if you have to take it back off, those plugs will catch and bend out. And whoops, I don't even have the piece in frame. There we go. So when you put this piece on, this is ramped, and if you have to take it off, it'll catch on the plugs. They will bend out, and you can possibly break them. So be careful with that. Like I said, if you're painting it before you build it, make sure you have all of this done ahead of time, because once you clamp it on, it's not coming off. All right, here is the first part of the shoulders, where you have the 4 connectors, And like I said, these are all way too short. It's, even if they were longer, it would still be incredibly difficult to get them in, because your main power runs through a channel on the bottom that's too loose to hold it in place. Then you have to feed these around. There's no channel there to snap it into. It just is supposed to free float. And there's nothing that socket snaps into. On most of the other kit, like when you're doing the interior of the backpack or the base or even in the torso, in the piece there's slots to hold that light plug. And on these, they just sit in a little groove. So you're going to try and hold these two back up, one on each side in place, that underneath, while this has to slide into this on both sides. Even if the runs were long enough, I don't think you can hold all 5 of those, get it in. Otherwise you get better dexterity than I do. But with these leads, that plug and bulb was actually about up here. It wasn't even long enough. And then these coming off the back, I'll show. Those were also significantly too short. If you want to do extensions, feel free, but I'm not going to take the time. I've got more projects to do. All of this was super simple. The shoulders go together real easy. They fit together pretty nice. With these little pieces up here, there we go. These are basically little plugs that hold that hinge onto the psycho frame piece. Once you get that in, put a little glue on top of them just to hold them in. They have a tendency to pop out until you get everything completely assembled. And those are just those little in 6, 11, 8, and 10 pieces. You're going to have to do it, 4 for the left, 4 for the right. And the rest of the shoulder build, like I said, the shoulders weren't hard at all. It's just lots and lots of little pieces for the shoulders. Wait, where was the one other typo? Q6. That's not Q... Is it that one? It's another 6 and 9 mix-up. Could be those. It could be, that could be N9 instead of N6. But you pay attention to the pieces you're nipping off. It's not, whatever the mix-up was, it's not super... I mean, it's pretty obvious the pieces aren't similar. And there it is. Here's a close-up of the what moves on the pieces for the transformation and what these top pieces move up. There's fins on the head, just like you'd expect. The shoulders do come apart a little bit. These pieces move up. These doors open, these flaps turn up on the torso. And then it's also demonstrating opening the cockpit, which obviously isn't part of Unchained. But all in all, like I said, it's a nice kit. I'm happy with it. I can't wait to get it built and painted up. I guess it's built. Taken apart, painted up, and then built and displayed. Thanks for watching Great Lakes Gunpla. If you liked the video, please leave a thumbs up and click the subscribe button. If you didn't like the video, leave a thumbs down and leave a comment as to why. If you have any questions with this build, or you're building the same kit and have questions, leave a comment below, or even better, leave a video response and I will answer it as fast as I can. Thanks for watching.